This is the story of a migration shift that's changing Europe forever. Central and Eastern Europeans are returning home, leaving critical labour gaps. Are Asian workers now stepping in to take their place in Europe's workforce? As Europe grapples with an ageing population, record labour shortages, and demographic stagnation, Asian workers are stepping in to fill critical gaps across industries, from healthcare and construction to technology and logistics. At the same time, Eastern European workers are returning home, drawn by improved economic opportunities, political shifts, and even xenophobic backlash in some Western countries. But how did Asia become Europe's new labour lifeline? What does this shift mean for the continent's future workforce? And how is it reshaping the social and economic fabric of European nations? Let's uncover the story behind the numbers and the real-world impact of this extraordinary trend. For years, workers from Poland, Romania, and Bulgaria kept Europe's farms, hospitals, and construction sites running. They were the backbone of Western economies, doing jobs locals didn't want, but industries couldn't survive without. Things are changing. Take Poland as an example. Real wages have jumped by 22% since the financial crisis. Romania and the Czech Republic are seeing similar trends. For many, the dream of working abroad has faded, replaced by better opportunities back home. It's a migration reversal, leaving gaps in Europe's labour force. Another seismic shift came with Brexit. The United Kingdom, which had long been a key destination for Eastern European workers, saw a sharp decline in migration following its exit from the European Union. For many workers from Poland, Hungary, and other Eastern European nations, Brexit introduced a cloud of uncertainty. Questions about residency rights, job security, and legal restrictions forced thousands to reconsider their futures in the UK. Adding to the push factors are broader societal challenges. Eastern European migrants have faced rising racism and hostility in certain Western European countries, making them feel less welcome. These factors, combined with the pull of cultural ties and family connections back home, have encouraged many to pack up and leave. The COVID-19 pandemic also played a role, as it not only exposed vulnerabilities in the global labour market, but also reinforced the desire of many migrants to return home during a time of uncertainty. This migration reversal comes at a cost for Western Europe. The labour shortages created by the exodus of Eastern European workers are staggering. The European Union identified 42 occupations with severe shortages, ranging from construction and healthcare to information technology. In agriculture, for instance, crops have gone unharvested in countries like Spain and Italy due to the lack of seasonal workers. In healthcare, the departure of nurses and caregivers has left an already strained system scrambling to fill vacancies. According to Eurostat, over 75% of employers across 21 European countries reported difficulties finding skilled workers in 2023. That's a dramatic increase from 42% in 2018. Small and medium-sized enterprises, or SMEs, are hit hardest, with more than half struggling to find employees with the necessary skills. This problem is compounded by Europe's aging population and low birth rates, which further limit the availability of local workers. It's the perfect storm: fewer Eastern Europeans migrating to the West, coupled with an aging population and a sharp increase in labour demand. From 2019 to 2022, migrant workers were critical in sectors with acute shortages. Healthcare saw a 15% rise in migrant employees, while the construction industry experienced a 7% uptick. But the gap left by returning Eastern European workers remains wide, and the EU's labour markets are under increasing strain. This demographic and economic shift has forced Western European countries to look elsewhere for labour. Immigration patterns are evolving, with new sources of workers emerging. In particular, a significant influx of migrants from Asia is starting to reshape the labour market landscape. These workers bring new challenges and opportunities, heralding a transformative phase in Europe's workforce dynamics. As Europe grapples with this migration shift, the story of its labour markets is no longer solely about the East moving west. It's about an increasingly globalized labour force stepping in to fill the gaps, reshaping economies, industries, and communities along the way. Did you know that Asia accounts for 40% of global migration? That's 115 million people on the move. By 2020, 23 million Asians had made Europe their new home, filling jobs and reshaping industries in ways no one predicted. Across the continent, workers from Asian countries are stepping into roles that are vital to keeping Europe's aging economies running. But what's driving this surge? And why are Asian workers choosing Europe over traditional destinations like the Middle East or North America? Let's break it down. Why Europe? Higher wages, better labour laws, and working conditions that outshine traditional destinations like the Middle East. For workers from India, Bangladesh, and the Philippines, Europe offers a fresh start and a brighter future. Europe is also grappling with a demographic dilemma. With an aging population and declining birth rates, many sectors are facing an acute labor shortage. From health services to manufacturing and logistics, the demand for workers has outstripped the supply. Asian migrants, particularly from South and Southeast Asia, are seizing these opportunities to build better futures for themselves and their families. For instance, Romania, Poland, Italy, and Hungary have become hotspots for Asian labor due to their acute worker shortages in agriculture, construction, and caregiving. These countries have opened their doors wider than ever. Romania, for instance, increased its annual visa quota for non-EU workers to 100,000 in 2023, targeting skilled laborers from Vietnam, Bangladesh, and the Philippines. Meanwhile, Hungary, with over 3,000 job vacancies awaiting Filipino workers, has streamlined recruitment processes to attract talent. But, as per Hungary government, the domestic labor market will soon need 500,000 additional workers. The motivation is clear. Europe needs these workers to keep its economies running, and Asian migrants are stepping in to meet this demand. Traditionally, many Asian workers sought opportunities in the Middle East or North America, so why the pivot to Europe? Several factors are at play. Europe offers higher wages and better working conditions than many workers could find in their home countries or even in other migration hotspots. For example, Italy recently announced plans to recruit 10,000 Indian nurses, offering them better salaries and improved career prospects compared to what they might earn back home. European labor laws are among the most stringent globally, ensuring better treatment and working conditions. Migrants are drawn to environments where exploitation is less likely and where they can secure their rights. For many, Europe's universities act as a gateway. Asian students, particularly from India, China, and Southeast Asia, are flocking to European institutions. Many of these students transition into the workforce, contributing to sectors like IT, engineering, and healthcare. Europe's emphasis on gender equality, personal freedom, and political stability is a significant pull for migrants looking to escape restrictive environments. For women especially, moving to Europe often means breaking free from patriarchal norms and finding opportunities unavailable at home. Asian migrants are making their presence felt across various sectors critical to Europe's economy. Italy's healthcare sector is a case in point. With a glaring shortage of nurses, the government is recruiting directly from India, recognizing the high level of professional training among Indian healthcare workers. Similar efforts are underway in Germany, which needs around 400,000 skilled workers annually to address its labor gap. In Poland, nearly 1/4 of businesses employ non-EU workers, particularly in construction, welding, and logistics. Facilities like the container town in Plock house thousands of Asian workers employed in large-scale infrastructure projects. Countries like Croatia and Hungary depend on seasonal workers from Asia to keep their agricultural sectors running. These workers not only meet the immediate labor demand, but also bring a reliability that local labor markets cannot always provide. High-tech industries in countries like the Netherlands are benefiting from knowledge migrants, skilled professionals who bring technical expertise. Companies like ASML, a leader in semiconductor manufacturing, rely on a diverse international workforce, with over 40% of their employees being foreign nationals. Interestingly, even countries with publicly anti-immigrant rhetoric are quietly adjusting their policies to attract foreign workers. Italy, under its far-right leadership, is recruiting foreign labor to meet a deficit in 37 key occupations. Similarly, Germany introduced the Opportunity Card to streamline the process for skilled workers from non-EU countries, particularly India. Such measures highlight a dual narrative. On one hand, governments project a tough stance on immigration to appease domestic political pressures. On the other, they recognize the indispensability of migrant workers in sustaining their economies. This wave of Asian migration is more than a response to Europe's labor shortage. It's reshaping societal norms, challenging perceptions, and fostering a multicultural workforce. As Asian workers integrate into European communities, they bring with them diverse cultures, skills, and perspectives, enriching the social fabric. Yet, this transition isn't without its challenges. For many migrants, adjusting to life in Europe means navigating language barriers, cultural differences, and bureaucratic hurdles. The rise of Asian migration to Europe underscores the global interconnectedness of labor markets. With this rapid influx, however, come challenges for both migrants and the host nations. Adapting to a new workforce requires more than just policy adjustments. It demands cultural sensitivity, effective integration programs, and mutual understanding. Migration isn't just about filling jobs, it's changing the face of Europe. Workers from India, Vietnam, and the Philippines are bringing vibrant traditions, foods, and customs. It's a cultural exchange on a massive scale, transforming local communities. In Poland, for example, the growing Filipino workforce has led to the emergence of Filipino cultural festivals, showcasing traditional music, dance, and food. Similarly, Vietnamese migrants in the Czech Republic, often referred to as the third largest minority group, have introduced popular Vietnamese markets, now a staple in cities like Prague. These cultural exchanges not only enrich local life, but also foster a sense of global connectivity. But cultural integration isn't always smooth. Concerns about social cohesion and the ability of communities to adapt to rapid demographic changes are common. Local residents may feel alienated or worried about losing their cultural identity, especially in smaller towns unaccustomed to diversity. For instance, in Romania, where South Asian workers are rapidly filling gaps in agriculture and construction, there have been reports of challenges in communication and cultural misunderstandings between local employers and foreign workers. Moving to the economic contributions, Asian workers are undeniably boosting local economies. They are often employed in sectors critical to daily life, like caregiving, logistics, and manufacturing. In Italy, Indian nurses are alleviating a severe healthcare worker shortage, directly improving patient care in understaffed hospitals. Meanwhile, in Hungary, Filipino workers are driving productivity in the industrial sector, with thousands of them contributing to the country's growing manufacturing exports. These workers don't just fill jobs, they support industries vital to economic stability. Asian workers also fuel local economies through their spending. Their presence creates demand for housing, groceries, and other services, boosting local businesses. For example, in regions of Poland with large concentrations of Asian workers, local shops have started stocking products like rice noodles, spices, and other staples of Asian cuisine, reflecting the workers' needs and benefiting local suppliers. However, there's another side to this economic story: competition for jobs. In sectors like construction and logistics, some locals worry that the influx of foreign workers might drive down wages or reduce job opportunities for domestic employees. In countries like Germany, where skilled labor shortages are critical, these concerns are somewhat mitigated by the focus on hiring workers for roles locals are unwilling or unable to fill. However, in smaller economies with limited job opportunities, the narrative of competition can fuel tensions, particularly in areas where unemployment remains high among native populations. Government and employers are also grappling with issues surrounding integration and fairness. How do you ensure that foreign workers are not exploited or relegated to low-paying jobs without upward mobility? In Italy, for example, efforts are underway to provide language training for Indian nurses to ease their transition and ensure they can work effectively in Italian healthcare settings. Similarly, the Netherlands has introduced schemes to provide skill development opportunities for foreign workers, ensuring they can integrate into higher skilled roles over time. This evolving scenario hints at a future where migration isn't just a stopgap solution, but a central pillar of Europe's labour strategy in a globalised world. Europe's workforce is changing fast. With fewer Eastern Europeans heading west, Asia has become the new source of labour. It's a shift that's not just filling gaps, but redefining what Europe's economy and society will look like in the years to come. One key driver of increasing reliance on workers from Asia is the changing demographics in Eastern Europe. Countries like Poland, Romania, and Bulgaria are now grappling with aging populations and lower birth rates, meaning fewer workers are available for both local and cross-border jobs. For instance, Poland, traditionally a supplier of labor to Western Europe, now faces such acute shortages that it's actively recruiting workers from countries like the Philippines and Nepal to sustain its economy. This pivot highlights how Europe is looking further afield to meet its labor needs. Asian workers are now stepping into roles once filled by Eastern Europeans, but this trend raises critical questions about policies and infrastructure. For example, visa systems in many EU countries were designed with regional migration in mind. Now, as Asia becomes a dominant source of labor, visa reforms are essential. Germany, for instance, recently revamped its migration policies to attract skilled workers from non-EU countries, making it easier for migrants to obtain work permits and permanent residency. Similarly, Italy is expanding quotas for non-EU workers to address persistent labor shortages. Beyond visas, labor protections and training programs are becoming urgent priorities. Workers arriving from Asia often take up roles in caregiving, agriculture, and construction, sectors prone to exploitation and poor working conditions. Strengthening labor protections, such as enforcing fair wages and safe working places, will be critical for ensuring these workers are not only recruited, but retained. For example, Spain has introduced measures to monitor working conditions in agriculture, a sector heavily reliant on migrant labor, to prevent exploitation and boost long-term productivity. Training programs also hold immense potential. Many Asian workers arrive with untapped skills or qualifications that don't align with Europe's current demands. Offering targeted training, including language courses and technical upskilling, could bridge this gap, allowing workers to transition into higher skilled and better paying roles. The Netherlands is already leading in this area, offering comprehensive integration programs that include language and vocational training, helping new arrivals adapt quickly while contributing more effectively to the economy. So, what does this mean for Europe's workforce and economy in the decades ahead? The labour market will likely become more diverse and interconnected than ever before. As Asian migration grows, it could lead to stronger economic ties between Europe and key Asian countries, potentially fostering trade and investment partnerships. Additionally, a globalized labour market might encourage innovations in sectors traditionally resistant to change. Automation and technology could play a larger role in industries like agriculture and manufacturing, complementing the human labour brought in through migration. Ultimately, this evolving migration dynamic could define Europe's ability to remain competitive on the global stage. By embracing diversity, modernizing policies, and ensuring fair treatment, Europe can turn these trends into opportunities, not just for today, but for the generations to come.